Welcome to Proclaim. We exist to proclaim Jesus to all nations. We are a new church developing a multi-ethnic community online and in person to proclaim the love and grace of Jesus to those who don't know him and share that love with each other no matter what we look like, where we are from, or what language we may speak. One really important thing I want to ask you to do right now is to share this live stream to your page. Next Sunday, February 14th, we will be adding a worship experience to our teaching. A core value at Proclaim is being followers who make followers. That means being followers of Jesus who lead others to be followers of Jesus. Proclaiming Jesus to all nations is only possible as you invite others. This week, we need you to invite people to join our live stream as we kick off a fuller worship opportunity. Starting next Sunday, we will start streaming to our own webpage so that we can worship together regardless of having a social media account, and where we can provide more resources during our worship time. So watch on Facebook for the link this week. Jesus said in the Bible book of Luke, 12th chapter, 48th verse, to whom much has been given, much is expected. If you're like me, when I really look at my life, I've been given much. Giving to Proclaim is an act of worship for what God has given us. Your giving matters to us because you matter to God. You can give online at the link in the comment window. As we learn how we meet the real Jesus, here is our Bible passage we're learning from in the Bible book of Mark, read by a Proclaim friend in Spanish for us today.
Jesús expulsa a un espíritu maligno. Entraron en Capernaum y tan pronto como llegó el sábado, Jesús fue a la sinagoga y se puso a enseñar. La gente se asombraba de su enseñanza, porque le impartía como quien tiene autoridad y no como los maestros de la ley. De repente, en la sinagoga, un hombre que estaba poseído por un espíritu maligno gritó: ¿Por qué te entrometes, Jesús de Nazaret? ¿Has venido a destruirnos? Yo sé quién eres tú, el Santo de Dios. Cállate, lo reprendió Jesús. Sal de ese hombre. Entonces el espíritu maligno sacudió al hombre violentamente y salió de él dando un alarido. Todos se quedaron tan asustados que se preguntaban unos a otros: ¿qué es esto? ¿Una enseñanza nueva? Pues lo hace con autoridad. Les da órdenes incluso a los espíritus malignos y le obedecen. Como resultado, su fama se extendió rápidamente por toda la región de Galilea.
When I worked briefly in Italy in my 20s, I was sightseeing in the cathedral by the Leaning Tower of Pisa, which is just an amazing cathedral. And some of you are thinking, I know that's just recently because I'm in my 20s now, right? But this was long before that. And the reason why I know it's a long time before is because it's before cell phones had cameras on them. And there were hardly any other people around. And as I walked around the corner in one of these areas, there was this young lady, and she's laying on a statue, stretched out in some sort of pose, and the camera is setting on the wall behind her, and she's just trying to have a humorous photo. And when she saw me, her eyes just kind of lit up, and first she kind of, was nervous, but then she said hello in very broken Italian, which was like mine, and asked me in American English, while making the motions with camera motions, that would I take the picture of her? And I nodded, and she handed me the camera before resuming her pose. And I took the photo and then handed the camera back to her, and she thanked me, to which I replied in my American Midwest English, "You're welcome." When I did, her mouth fell open, her face turned red in embarrassment. And she said, "Oh, I'm so embarrassed. I thought you were Italian." And for some reason, she wasn't embarrassed one bit about laying on this statue, taking a goofy photo when she thought I was someone I wasn't. And it was just kind of this weird thing about why she made this differentiation between where I was from as whether to be embarrassed or not. But where she thought I was from didn't change where I was actually from, did it? I mean, her thinking that I was from Italy didn't change that I'm American, that I'm from here in America. So one of the greatest ways that we can often miss is that what we think doesn't always change reality. And something that you can do today, I want us to get the most out of our teaching time, and we do that by interacting. So let's start by letting God know that we're ready to hear what He has to say to you today, whatever that is. And so right now, I just want you to type, "I'm listening," in the comment window to let us know that you're here and that you're listening today. We're in this teaching series on meeting the real Jesus to get to know Jesus, who He actually was through the Bible and the words written in it about Him. And the Bible is this collection of 66 books written to tell the history of how God, who created all things, created us to have this relationship with Him. The entire Bible tells how God has worked over the thousands of years to bring a Savior to restore our relationship that we lost with Him through the sins in our lives that separated us from Him. Last week, we saw that Jesus told several guys who He had an acquaintance with, at least to some degree. We don't know how much, but several guys who are plain old hard-working men to follow Him. And they left, literally, they left their previous way of life as fishermen. It says they let down their nets, they put down their nets, and they followed Jesus. And in the verses that were read earlier, we saw that Jesus went into the synagogue after this, in what they called was the Sabbath day. That is Saturday today to us. And He starts teaching a very different style of worship than what we do today. But from this teaching, we're going to learn that there is one thought I want us to get to know about Jesus today. And here's that thought. Are you ready for it? That thought is, only Jesus is stronger than your demons. Only Jesus is stronger than your demons. Let's say it together with me. Only Jesus is stronger than your demons. Type "only Jesus" if you're listening right now. As Jesus starts His teaching in the synagogue, it says that the people were amazed because he taught like one who had authority, not as their teachers did. And there's this authority that is given to some by position, right? I mean, they're in a position of authority. Then there's a totally different kind of authority. It's an authority that is beyond a position. It's an authority that is given because of who a person is. I mean, it's something about the person, right? Regardless of their position, there's just something about that person that brings respect from others. Something about their character and demeanor lets them have authority in your life. February, this month that we're kicking off right now, is actually Black History Month. And it brings us to remember the many of our black population in history who have merited respect and authority for who they were, despite the positions that they may have been assigned in life here. And there are so many of them as well. There's Martin Luther King, there's Rosa Parks, there's Lemuel Haynes, who's the first black man to ever be ordained as a minister in the United States. There's Daniel Payne, there's many more. There's more than we can list, but they are great examples of authority when a world may not have given them a position of authority, but their character, something about them, gave them authority. And that's Jesus as a person, and in His teaching, He led others to give Him authority in their lives by who He was. So Jesus is teaching. And then right in the middle, in the magnitude of His authority, it becomes evident just how big His authority is. And we saw that just when He's teaching, there's this man in the synagogue. And it says he's demon-possessed. he's possessed by an impure spirit. And the demon says, well, what do you want with us, Jesus? And when it says an impure spirit, the word used is a word that was used for unclean or demonic spirit. So this man had somehow been possessed by a demon. We aren't told anything about the man. We don't know his name or how long he'd been like he was. All we know is that his life had to be a total mess. I mean, there's no indication here that the people knew that there was something wrong with him. It's kind of unique because all other times that I recall in the Bible when Jesus encountered a demon-possessed person, it was evident to others that there was something wrong with this individual, that something was different in their life that wasn't right. But I would guess that this man, I would guess that this man has something similar to what many of us have. Maybe it's not a demon, but it's that what others see on the outside is quite different than the chaos that exists on the inside of our life. You know, what we let people see and what we feel and we hide are different. And I have no doubt, I mean, I can relate to that. Some of you can relate. Type I relate if you relate to that. If you've been there, if you're there now, type I relate. This man possessed by a demon, and on the inside, it's chaos, but on the outside, nobody seems to know. But he's also in the synagogue. Now, synagogue would be like our church today, a church building, you might say. It's where people would go to worship and learn about God, and no one seemed to have had any idea that he's there and that he's like this. And it makes me realize something. It makes me realize that where we are does not automatically determine our relationship with God. It also doesn't determine who Jesus is to us, right? Religion typically believes that we encounter God by being in some special place or with a certain group of people or doing certain acts. But Jesus didn't come to this earth for you to have a religion with God, right? He came for you to restore you to your relationship with God. So why is this demon-possessed man in a place of worship? I mean, it just doesn't seem like he should be there. Why would he want to be there? There's a couple things that come to my mind as I think about this. One is that he could be there to cause chaos, to cause conflict, right? To lead people astray, to cause confusion amongst the people that are there by leading them astray. So that's one real possibility. And I have no doubt, and I know that in my mind, I've seen where I feel like Satan has really been involved in workings in places of worship. But there's a second possibility that I also think is there, and that is somehow this man has managed to find the strength to come to this place in search of hope. In either way, I don't know which one it was, but at some point in this man's life, he opened himself up to evil being a part of his life. And at some point, evil moved in, and it took over his life. And here's what I found in my own personal life. There are two things that refuse to share us. One of them is evil, and the other is God. We can either have one or we can have the other. And if we try to share them in our lives, we'll end up being owned by evil, because you see, evil doesn't share. It doesn't share. It likes to make us think that we can have both, but we can't share evil and God both. They aren't shared. And God doesn't share either, you see. It says even in the Bible that God is a jealous God, meaning that he loves us so much that he wants us to be with him and not with anyone else that is evil. At one point in Jesus' ministry, he actually says that no one can serve two masters. He will either love the one or hate the other. But however this man got this way, evil had latched onto him and it refused to let him go. And some of us have been there, right? You felt that at times in your life, probably, when something you know shouldn't been there, something you didn't want there, just refused to let you go. It just would not let you go. And the demon says this. The demon says to Jesus, "What do you want with us?" The implication, in the original language, the implication is, why are you here? This is our place. This place belongs to us. Then the demon said, "I know who you are, the Holy One of God." And here's what's striking. Before any humans knew who Jesus was, the spiritual world, even the evil of the world, had no doubt. They had no doubt. And what we have to realize is that what we believe doesn't determine the reality or change who Jesus is. Even when the people didn't know who he was, it didn't change that he was the Holy One of God. I mean, believing you're a bird doesn't make you a bird. And if you think different, gravity will teach you the difference really fast, won't it? I mean, it will totally teach you the difference. And even though no one else knew who he was, it didn't change who he was. This demon knew who Jesus was. And Jesus commanded the spirit to be quiet, commanded him to come out of the man. And when it did, in the Bible book of Mark, chapter 1, verse 26, it says the spirit shook the man. It shook him violently. He was forced out. The demon didn't want to leave. But Jesus commanded him to be quiet and commanded him to come out. And the spirit shook him and came out. This demon had the power over that man. But when this demon encountered the one who was the Holy One of God, the thing that happened was what we said to start. Only Jesus is stronger than your demons. You see, and if Jesus is stronger than this man's literal demon, that means Jesus is stronger than the demon in your life. Now, your struggle may not be with an actual demon. I realize that. But that also means if Jesus can tame something as powerful as a demon, he can tame that war living within you. He can tame that thing that no one sees but you, that thing that says to everybody that everything is fine, but inside something has a hold of you that's tearing you down. Your demons may be words of the past, or even right now from others that you aren't good enough in life. They may be some activity or some relationship that you've come to believe that there's no way out of, that demon in your life, that there's no way out of that hurt, that it's never going to let you go. This week, just on a personal event that happened in my life this week. This week, I had the rare occasion for me anymore of having a nightmare. I haven't had one in a long time, and Joyce hasn't been feeling well or sleeping well lately, so she went downstairs for a while. In the middle of the night, she went downstairs to sleep on the couch because she couldn't sleep. But I ended up having this nightmare, and I still remember it vividly. And I got so scared in the nightmare because something had a hold of me. And I started crying out in my sleep, and I could hear myself, but I couldn't get out of it. I started crying out, "Help me, help me, help me." And eventually, I screamed out so loud that Joyce heard me downstairs. And when I did, it woke me up. But as long as I was inside in that nightmare, I could not get away. And when I woke up, it took me a bit to realize that it wasn't real. That it wasn't real. And something may have a hold of you like this man. But I want to tell you that Jesus is stronger than your demons. He can wake you up and bring you into a light of his love and grace. And it said, we saw that when the people saw it, they were amazed. They were like, "Who is this? Even the demons obey." And here's the thing, if the demons knew who he was and were terrified by him, I don't want to be in their camp. And here's the difference. The demon knew who Jesus was, but they were missing and didn't know what we can know. And that is the love that he has. You see, you believing who Jesus is and not believing him as the Son of God, the Holy One of God, it doesn't change who he is. He is the one, if you will realize he is the Holy One, he's the one who can wipe away the guilt on the inside of you that changes your life. And he can change your life from seeing him as one who came to destroy you, that's your enemy, to seeing him as one who came to love you and to save you. And the people saw what happened and they were like, who is this? See, the question is, who is he to you? And I know who Jesus came to be. He came to be the one who's the one who loves you as your Savior. That's who he came to be. It's easy to see what transpired between Jesus and the demon and miss something. It's easy to miss the man who was set free. And I have no doubt this man never looked at Jesus again the same way in his life. He'd looked controlled by this demon, but one greater than the demon came. And someone who is watching, this is your synagogue that you've come to today, watching today. And you've come in searching of someone more powerful than whatever is ruling your life. And while that something may be stronger than you are, Jesus is stronger than your demons. And I want to pray. And I want you to allow Jesus to be stronger. And if you want Jesus in your life, just type that. I want Jesus while I pray. And we'll follow up. You can go to the Zoom link after I'm done praying and talk right after this. But type, I want Jesus. If you want to make him bigger than your demons today. Let me pray. Lord, I just want to pray for that person right now that's watching. That person that's listening to this, that's seeing this, and Lord, they've got something that's a hold of them in life, some hurt, some anger, some whatever is there. And it's real, and it may be hidden, Father. But I pray right now that they would just type, I want Jesus. And if you're listening and that's you, just type it right now. Because, Lord, you know that you came for them. You came to set them free. You came to be bigger than whatever is in their life that doesn't belong. I ask this in your name, Father. Amen. Join me in Zoom.